important signal for countries that don't have possibility. Yeah. So we need it.
If you don't have biodiversity, you won't.
Ecocide and environmental destruction is a form of warfare, as Ukrainians by this point know all too well, and so does Russia. And that's why they are deliberately targeting the environment and people's livelihoods and homes, and therefore also destroying lives. Because this is, after all, a matter of people. It is about people, it is about Ukrainians suffering from this war. It is also of everyone else suffering from the consequences. For example, the millions of people dependent on food grown in Ukraine, just as one example. I think that no one of us remains unbothered while seeing the horrific developments that are taking place now in Ukraine and the crimes committed by Russia. And I hope that we can gather the assessments from local NGOs, from the scientific community, from authorities and so on, to create assessments of the environmental damages that are happening, and so that we can create accountability, so that Russia is held accountable.
Hello everyone, I've decided to do another solo video. We all know this video from Greta Thunberg that emerged on January. The video is from January, past the last January. And Greta addresses her concerns about Russia's war. It's like when she says Russia's war, it reminds me of someone dancing alone. What do you mean Russia's war? It's a war has to have two sides, two parties to it. But aside from that, she's really concerned about assessment about the environmental impacts of this war. And so she sits with Zelensky, highly sponsored by the Western powers. And in the recent news, we know how the West is very concerned about the environment. So in the recent news, we have another update about something which is harmless to the environment, which are, as many of you know, depleted uranium shells. I'm sure those are really good for the environment in the short, medium, and in the long run. But now the thing is, the news begin to twist it in a way that it seems like it's nothing. It's something light. It's not a big of a deal, not a big concern, and of course this again. It's really, how do I say? It does really match the real concern that the West has with the environment and with civilian lives. Bear in mind that in the next generations, when you have your cereals for breakfast, bear in mind that it might have a little bit of touch of that something that is good for you, or at least not harmful for you. She talks about food security, because Ukraine is not exporting, but as we all know, that was never the case. It always plays, they always play to your emotions, and saying that Russia is preventing the poor countries from getting this grain. Well, again, in the future, when this conflict is over, and she does want assessment, and I hope the assessment happens, and the accountability happens. Notice when she talks about accountability, she immediately blames. For her, there is no need for assessment at all. She has found the guilty part, but I hope that assessment is done. And as it was done in Iraq, for example, and then they found out the real effects of this harmful depleted uranium. Don't trust my word. Just do your research. You know, behind me there is an empty shelf. That's much of an expert I am. At a little bit of. I'm not. I'm not good for making this kind of jokes, but anyway, doesn't really matter. The message I want to get across, it's again an utter hypocrisy from the Western powers. And I can, for example, show you an example that does illustrate this. So the National Library of Medicine from the National Center of Biotechnology Information. Bear in mind that this is an official website of the United States government. They have published this paper on the scientific paper in 2013 about the environmental pollution by depleted uranium in Iraq, with special reference to Mosul and possible effects on cancer and birth defect rates. And so it is outlined here. Depleted uranium is a known carcinogenic agent. About 1,200 tons of ammunition were dropped on Iraq during the Gulf Wars of 91 and 2003. As a result, contamination occurred in more than 350 cities in Iraq. Currently, Iraqis are facing about 140,000 cases of cancer, with 7,000 to 8,000 new ones registered each year. I'm sorry for my trampling in the English words. On the English words. In Baghdad, cancer incidents per 100,000 have increased, just as they have also increased in Basra. The overall incidence of breast and lung cancer, leukemia, and lymphoma has doubled, even tripled. The situation in Mosul city is similar to other regions. Before the Gulf Wars, Mosul had higher rate of cancer, but the rate of cancer had further increased since the Gulf Wars. So I would like to ask Greta about the livelihoods of the people that will be affected in the future of Ukraine, about this Ukraine thing, about this depleted uranium thing, because it seems this should send a wave, a shockwave throughout all the communities, all the groups, all the organizations that are deeply committed to save the environment. But no, so it leaves me to wonder a little bit about the intentions of some of these organizations and about their agenda, actually, and who funds them. What are the purposes? Because a lot of things nowadays, with all the information sphere enlarging a millionfold, a billionfold, all the channels, all the possibilities that you have to read and access information, but especially the main ones that promote these messages. Why are they not reacting to this? Why doesn't this disperse a cry of rage and people gather to, let's put an end to this. This has to end. And it is in the Western hands, the power to end it. Like, I don't like to quote Trump. I'm not a big fan of him. I mean, I am a communist, and that should say it all. But he did say he would end the war in 24 hours. We all know what he meant with it, because Ukraine is no longer a country. It's a region completely subsidized, fed, supplied, and it's hanging by strings that are pulled by the US government and the Western powers. And so it's in their power to end this. So, but even if it ends sooner or later, what is the point? If the point is to expel a menace from a sovereign country, are you going to poison those lands that you want to get back with depleted uranium, which will cause problems, very serious problems for decades to come? I don't really understand the logic. Well, I do actually, but I don't want to jump into quick conclusions. You let me know in the comments what you think about this. I just wanted to notice, but I do know one thing is that the Western powers, mainly the USA, do not care about civilians, and just as how do I say it? As an example, I found this interesting article, which I will show to you here as well, because they do not care about Ukrainians, and that is a thing. But the most shocking thing is that they don't even care about their own. and let me show you this. So in the Missouri Independent, this is from July 2023. Records reveal 75 years of government downplaying, ignoring the risks of St. Louis radioactive waste. The Missouri Independent, Muckrock, and the Associated Press spent months combining through thousands of pages of previously unreleased government records that show radioactive waste was known to pose a threat to people living near Coldwater Creek as early as 1949. But federal officials repeatedly wrote potential risks off as slight, minimal, or low level. Where have we seen this before or after? And then the article goes on to say, for kids like Sandy Mitchell, Janet Johnson, childhood in the North St. Louis County suburbs in the 1960s and 70s meant days playing along the banks or splashing in the knee-deep waters of Coldwater Creek. They caught turtles and tadpoles, jumped into deep stretches of the creek from rope swings, and ate mulberries that grew on the banks. Growing up, they never knew they were surrounded by massive piles of nuclear waste left over from the war. Generations of children who grow up alongside Coldwater Creek have in recent decades faced rare cancer, autoimmune disorders, and other mysterious illnesses they have come to believe were the result of exposure to its waters and sediment. People in their neighborhoods are dropping like flies, Mitchell said. Then, I can put the link of this article for you to read, but I think you get the point. The point, it always leads to the same thing. This is not about humanitarian causes. This is not about defending democracy. This is not about defending the livelihoods, like Greta said, or defending the environment. They couldn't care less about the environment. And for now, I think I made it a bit longer than I wanted. Just wanted to point out a little bit, just a little bit, one more sign of hypocrisy. Let me know what you think. I know I'm not very good at making these solo videos. I feel much comfortable doing interviews, but I think this will be a thing of this channel from now on. Thanks for having the patience to watch it. Please subscribe, help the channel grow at least a little bit more. Know that I do this in part-time. I'm a full-time worker, blah, blah, blah. And thank you. And of course, if you like this video, please subscribe, follow this channel, help it grow a little bit, help it enhance its contribution in the information space. Thank you very much. Tune in for the next one.